The first half of Invincible Season 2 has drawn to a close, and I still can't get over that mid-season finale. It was definitely the best episode in the season. Whilst there were loads of good parts embedded within the core of this episode, amongst the blood, fighting, and devastation, there were two scenes that I thought were simply breathtaking to watch and had such importance to the narrative of the show and the development of two characters in particular. This is Debbie and Nolan and their opening scenes in the episode. I tweeted about how this scene was so moving to watch, and it's clear to see that a lot of others thought that too. So I thought I'd break down the scenes, the parallels that were present, and explain exactly why it's so important. So let's get into it. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. The parallels in the opening sections. One of the main things that I took away from both Nolan and Debbie's opening scenes in this episode was that they were essentially mirrored. We had Nolan drifting through space on his own with the song Avalanche by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds playing in the background, with lyrics that cut through and were so poignant in describing what Nolan's mind was going through. And on the other side, millions of miles away, we had Debbie walking aimlessly through the city with no purpose but the weight of the world on her shoulders, as the song Olympus by Bloodshell was being played. If we look at Nolan's opening scene first, we saw that with Mark lying on the cliffside covered in blood, barely being able to say the word Dad, that one word alone impacted Nolan so much. It resulted in Nolan going up into space, where we saw a singular tear which had such focus floating around after he'd let it go. This was almost a sign of what was to come at the end, due to the weight of the guilt that he felt over the devastation that he caused, and the fact that he beat his son to within an inch of his life, showing us the conflicted mind that Nolan had between duty and family. The lyrics, "I stepped into an avalanche, it covered up my soul," were the first lyrics that we heard being sung. This was also accompanied with a somber piano melody playing underneath. This song not only suited the mood of what was going on inside of Nolan's mind, but the style of music that it was in. It represented the sheer amount of space that was around Nolan from a physical sense, and also a mental sense as well as the blindness navigating that he was doing. The lyrics, "I stepped into an avalanche, it covered up my soul," is something which I feel is representative of Nolan thinking of his family, and how it clouded his judgment and made him find something that he actually cared about more than himself, hence why he didn't kill Mark on that day. His family were the avalanche, and it consumed his soul. It ultimately led him to want to get as far away as possible and made him live with no purpose whatsoever. We saw that he was basically sleeping as he moved, showing that he simply didn't care what happened to him. As he drifted further and further through space, through different terrains and conditions, we saw that he made the decision to end things for himself and throw himself inside of a black hole where he'd quite literally get ripped apart. This wasn't only a thought process for him, this was a decision that he'd decided to make, and he was in the process of doing it. However, the damaged Thraxan ship that appeared in the distance was something which caught his attention and got him to stop, as he ended up saving them instead. This showed that he'd fully given up on life, and if it wasn't for an external matter, then he'd no longer be around. Now, when we take a look at Debbie's opening scene, we saw the exact same style of shots that were present within hers. The tracking shots where she'd be walking down the street, which was mirroring exactly what Nolan was doing when he was flying through space. We saw the emptiness which was present in her mind and the fact that she didn't care. Like how Nolan had an extremely long beard, Debbie was walking around the city in bare feet and was at the point of giving up too. There was a shot where it was behind her head, looking at the very thing that could kill her if she were to go over it, just like what we saw with Nolan when he was looking at the black hole. Plus, there was then the close-up shot of her face too, where we'd capture every bit of emotion, just like we saw with Nolan as well. The lyrics that were being sung underneath Debbie's scene were, "I'd still kill for you. I died to spend the night at your belonging. I want to save myself. You're part of my addiction." These lyrics hit hard in this moment because it truly summed up how Debbie felt about Nolan and how she'd felt throughout the entirety of their marriage. The past 20 years of her life had been a lie, and not because of her, so the love that she had for Nolan was still present within her, even if she didn't want it to be. He was the sole reason as to why she was feeling like she could have ended it all in that moment. Even though the shots in both of these scenes were executed in the exact same way, there was one major thing to take away from it, and it highlighted the most important thing in the entirety of their inclusion. This is the polar opposite outcomes. If we're being real, both of these characters were on the cusp of looking death in the eye. They were each one decision away from being claimed by the Grim Reaper, but when we look at what the both of them could have done, Nolan was the individual who actually went through with it, and if it wasn't for him moving at such a slow speed and there being time for him to be distracted, he would have been dead. Debbie looked death in the eye and said, "I'll take on another day," and despite contemplating jumping, she didn't. The show led us to believe that she was having the same thought process as what Nolan was, and despite the fact that she was, in the sense where she was filled with despair, devastation, and didn't see the point in living anymore, the outcome of her not even attempting to go through with it showed the sheer amount of strength that she had within her, and it also highlighted that she was stronger in Nolan in that instance. Nolan could no longer live with himself and felt like the only way that he could rid himself of the pain that he was feeling that was self-inflicted was to end it all, rather than face what he had done. He didn't want to face another day living with the guilt of what he had done to everybody. Debbie not going through with it and appearing stronger than Nolan in that specific instance was something which had a sense of irony to it. Nolan has powers and has the ability to be a superhero, thus making him stronger in general. Yet Debbie was emotionally stronger than him in that moment. Debbie pulling through was something which also tied into a scene that occurred later on down the line when she tackled the fifth and final stage of grief that she was feeling, which was acceptance. When she was speaking with Art, she acknowledged that she wasn't fine, and that was her way of essentially reaching out for help, with Art letting her know that she had strength because she'd essentially raised Mark on her own. As Nolan would often be going off and fighting aliens and creatures, it spurred her on to be able to move on, and it had her being the complete opposite of what she was at the start of the episode, happy and accepting of the life that she was going to have moving forwards. Something which she wouldn't have had if she made the same decision that Nolan did a million miles away. I thought this scene was the most beautiful scene that I've seen in the show for a long while. The mirrored tones and visuals, the somber music that was playing behind both of them which had lyrics that cut through and were representative of the characters, the animation of Nolan navigating through space was something which was just breathtaking to look at, and the sheer emotion that these few minutes evoked from me got more out of me than what I've had throughout most of the show this season. The way that the show has handled Debbie's grief of Nolan has been exceptional to witness, and its climax with her scene accompanied by Nolan's was just perfection. They were having the same thought process of ending it all despite being millions of miles apart. It's a breathtaking moment, and one which was so poignant when it came to highlighting the sheer amount of strength that Debbie had within her. So, there you have it. If you want to see breakdowns of Invincible, then click on the card in the top corner. Or as well, I released a video discussing everything that's known about Season 2 Part 2, Episodes 5 through to 8, so that's on the channel as well. Did you think this scene was moving? Leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.